Thank you everybody for coming. We are doing this workshop today. This is Jeanne Lemlin. Some of you might have met her before. She's one of our more active and one of our key tutors here at LitNet. She's been helping us out for several years now. She was an English teacher for several years, taught at Mount Everett High School. She also wrote cookbooks, so she's a well-known author as well. And so this workshop we're going to do today is about everything that we do kind of revolves around how do we get our learners to speak and to practice, speaking and not be shy about it. And also, like I would say 90% of our tutors are not former teachers, and they don't have teaching experience, ESL, or anything like that. So the idea is to do these workshops so that we can give those tutors more of an idea of how they can get their learners engaged in conversation. And we know that not every single learner is just gonna all of a sudden, sit there and talk and have this conversation with you. But the idea is that you want to, work, that it's a process, and that even if it's just them repeating what you're saying, practicing their pronunciation, like that has to be the standard. So we're really lucky to have Jeanne doing this workshop for us. Before we get started with the workshop, I do just want to show you a couple of things. We have this really great opportunity right now. The Norman Rockwell Museum. I don't know if everybody saw the email, but the Norman Rockwell Museum is allowing LitNet tutors and their learners to go there for free and go to the facility, check out the facility, but also they made a guide for us, like a self-guide, and we put the guide here in our, just give me 1 second, in our website. I don't know if anybody saw it, and I actually don't know where I put it, but
email.
Yeah, it is in the email. I did send that. We do have a link to the actual guide, and I'll show you the guide and what it looks like. But the link to this PDF is on the website, and basically they give us great instructions on how you can call, or how you can write an email, and you can ask and tell the people when you're going to go and how many people you're going to go with. And then it just talks about the Norman Rockwell Museum, and then there's questions. So you could even if you wanted to just kind of work on this before you even went, all kinds of different things that you can do. So I want to make sure that everybody takes advantage of it if you can. It's a great opportunity, and it's just for LitNet tutors and learners. So David Sultan, your wife, Catherine Potts,
she's out of education there, so
right,
she's part of this conversation.
Yeah, so they're just they're very open to working with LitNet, and so this is kind of a pilot. It's going to be, I think, till March 5th, and we're going to see how this works. And then if this works out well, then we'll continue our relationship and see what other kind of great things we can come up with. Yeah.
Is the information translated into any other languages, right?
It's only in English. Yeah. But it is something that if you wanted to work with your learner on translating it, that could be something we can do as well. So I want everybody to to know about it and to take advantage of it, clearly you'll have to print out the guide. If you don't have a printer, let us know and you can come to the office and we can print one out for you. The other thing I don't know how many of you know, but we have this website called Ellie, and I just want to show you what it looks like. It used to be called ESL Library. Some of you may have used it, some of you may have not, but you can go there and find all kinds of resources, and it's all leveled. So if you needed something that's for a beginner, or if you needed something that's for a high beginner, or anything like that, you could find all kinds of different things here: videos, articles, worksheets, all kinds of things. You can actually build a class and you can invite your learner to join. So anything that you find and you post in your classroom, your learner will have access to it. You can actually, if you had them do a worksheet, you can actually check it on real time and actually check their progress. So a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with the website. We have 40 licenses for it. So if anybody wants to use it, let me know and I can give you login information. One thing is that if we notice that people haven't been using it for a month or 2 months, we'll take it so that other people can use it. But if you want to get back on it, we're glad to get you back on. So please take advantage of that.
And Miguel, just a reminder that there is a video
Yes.
of how to use that.
Thank you,
David.
David.
That Mark and I did a couple
Yeah,
years
so
ago.
this is David Goldenberg.
Did we do that 2 years ago, maybe?
Yes, we did there is on our YouTube channel, which I think everyone here knows that we have a YouTube channel. We're taping this workshop, so that will be on our YouTube channel. But we post all our workshops. So David and another tutor, Mark Harrell, did a great workshop on how they use Ellie, because they've been using it for longer than most of us have. So if that's something you want to do, check that out before you use it. You'll find that on our YouTube channel. So, and that's all I want to share for today. I don't want to take too much time, but I will pass it over to Jeanne.
Okay, so pardon me if you've heard the story before, because I have told it a lot, but I think it's important in that each time I tell it, somebody says, yeah, that happened to me. So I've become quite evangelical about having a conversational style, conversation-based approach to teaching of foreign language, because when I was a little girl, I went to a French school, a Catholic French school, from kindergarten to 8th grade. And we had 3 hours of French in the morning and 3 hours of English in the afternoon. And I learned my prayers and my verbs and songs, and we did lots of different things with the French language for 9 years. And when I got very good grade, I was at the top of my class. And when I graduated 8th grade, I couldn't speak French. Mm-hmm. I could take tests, I could do all of that, I could do worksheets, I could memorize things. We had these competitions on the side of the class, and all of that. I couldn't speak French. And when I've told people this, they'll say, yeah, that happened to me. I actually spoke to a tutor a couple of months ago, a new tutor, who just in terms of me, it's recently, but maybe 15 years ago, graduated from college, and she majored in Spanish. And she said, I translate for a technical journal, and I still don't speak Spanish. I'm not fluent. And I'm seeing all the heads. So anyway, that was kind of a fire under me. When I started tutoring, I thought, I don't want to do that with my students. I want them to speak French, to use the language, not French, speak English and use the language. So with that focus in mind, I started to find little tricks and discovered some things. And one of the things I've discovered is that I think many of us as tutors are the ones who are sabotaging the learning of our tutors with our learners without realizing it. The conversation-based approach to teaching is the most difficult, I think, and is the most awkward, and is the one that's the learners are going to resist the most because they're put on the spot and they feel uncomfortable. And so when I was a young girl growing up, because I didn't have to speak French, I was glad. Just give me those tests, give me those worksheets, I can do them. You know, it was unconscious somewhat, but it's just that that's the hardest thing to do, is to put the language into use. But that's where they're going to get the most gratification, and that's where you, as a tutor, are going to feel the most satisfied, because you're going to say, wow, she just spoke a sentence, you know, on her own, and then the next time she comes again. So the psychological thing is, I think, important to be aware of that. We love our learners. I mean, they're hardworking, and they surprise us, and they have these backgrounds, and they're cleaning houses, and they're working at McDonald's, and they're doing these lonely jobs, and they're not complaining, they just want to work. And so we feel so protective of them, and we also want to connect with them right off the bat. So the last thing we want to do is make them feel uncomfortable. And so we're rescuing them all the time without even realizing it, but we're delaying their grasping of the language and the usage of the language. So if you recognize that, then I think that's a first step, because you'll stop rescuing them all the time. You'll sit with the silence. Let them get uncomfortable and try to figure it out, and just shut up. Don't go away and give them help, but help them there. And I have to even remind myself that too, especially in the first couple of months with a learner, because I can see they're sweating bullets, you know, like, get me off a hot seat. No, don't. You know, you give them a little help. I'm not saying be brutal. Don't torture them. And you use your Google Translate and give them, you know, little inspirational things to say, but it help them along the way. But back off. That's what they have to wrestle with. And you'll be amazed at how, with these incremental advances that they make, before you know it, they want to talk. They don't want you to rescue them. They're like, whoa, like my learner, she's like, no. And then she's sitting there, and I'm thinking, what did I do that for? She wants to talk now. She doesn't mind, because she knows it's acceptable. And that's another important thing, that they get the message like, oh, my tutor doesn't care if I make mistakes. She's laughing with me. We're having a good time, you know. So when they see that, that makes them relax. And then probably within 2 or 3 classes, you'll see they're in the rhythm of attempting to string words together in sentences, and they don't care if they make mistakes, because they know you don't care, and you're going to laugh with them, and all of that. So that's just a little introduction I like to give about the psychological dimensions, because I think once you realize that you might be stifling the conversation unbeknownst to you, then it kind of gets into motion, their conversation, approaches to conversation. So another couple of things I just want to say before we get into the actual lessons is 2 things. One is the importance of speaking slowly. It's another one of those things we don't realize. I mean, I'm generally a fast talker, but my learner has said to me over and over again, I speak to you because you speak slowly. And I realize that you have to force yourself you feel like almost like you're saying, and what, you know, that's okay. No learner is going to say to you, can you talk a little faster? You have to do that. Keep it slow. You have to remind yourself. That's very, very important. Let me see, the other thing I wanted to say, just lots of praise. The combination, I think, of speaking very slowly, and then when you see them attempt to say, that's really good, you just spoke, hey, you know, don't worry about praising too much, because they want that and need that. They need it. And again, it's the beginning months that are the hardest for that approach, and then before you know it, they're fine. But I mean, it's not hard to praise them. You just love the fact that they're working with this and attempting over and over again. So just those 2 reminders. But the slow speaking is, and I've seen some really bright tutors, I mean, great at what they're doing, but kind of talk so fast, and I've seen that kind of like, you got to catch up. Just everything you said was perfect, but just if you just slowed it down, you'd have them in the palm of your hands practically. So things to remember. So what we're going to do today is this approach. There's all different ways you can generate conversation, get them to speak. But one of the things Miguel and I were talking about is using this book. Now, once when we were together in a tutor town hall, one of the tutors said, this was a couple of years ago, boy, my learner is so smart, we're just racing through that workbook, we're already on workbook 2. And Miguel and I look at each other like, no, that is not good. That's a red flag almost, because they love worksheets. They can go through the book. It's easy. They catch it. I see it all the time. I'm thinking, wow, you're good at that. But she didn't talk. She didn't speak. She put the words in. She got the worksheet. She's click, yep. And so that's what we're going to put the brakes on with this approach today. We're going to use this English for Everyone as a kind of guide, and focus on how to take a lesson and not have the lesson be what's going to frame your whole class and get them from beginning to end in the lesson. Because you can go through lessons and you'll see that they'll be very good at that. There's a lot of facility in that for them, but it's not speaking. They're not speaking. So Miguel and I were saying, let's take these lessons, break them up, take a chunk of them, have a lesson last 2 weeks, maybe even 3, because you're going to be reviewing and you're going to be getting them all the time to talk. So in this sheet that I've given you, let's look, so I say here, we're going to divide the lessons into components and focus on each component, again, with the purpose of getting them to use that language and to talk in full sentences. Like, you can get them in full sentences right from the beginning, because even when you fill out that information sheet, my name is, not just the name, my name is. That's a complete sentence, subject, verb, simple sentence, but it's a sentence. I live at, not just the address. Oh, where do you live? 25 Prospect Street. No, I live at 25 Prospect Street. So right from the get-go, expectation is always full sentences. So I just mentioned in the introduction that you can complete the 4 to 6 page worksheets with them. That could be a class. They'll do very well, and then you'll say, okay, look at it at home, and it's not horrible, but it's not the thing that's going to give you satisfaction as a tutor, because you're not going to see them using the language. So this is a general way I'm going to talk about breaking up a lesson, but then we'll do specific ones in our training. So you're going to introduce the lesson. The learner's going to learn the vocabulary, the grammar rule, or whatever it is, and before the learner starts doing those worksheets in there, that's where you're going to put the brakes on. You introduce the rule, the vocab, or whatever it is that's the focus of the lesson, and you're going to try to find ways to get them to use it right off the bat. A whiteboard's great. Google Translate, great. That's a helper. Use them. That's fine. Because you want them, of course, to understand what you're saying. And, I'm talking now for very, very beginners. But even people who are, this basically is the same journey through the lesson that you would use almost for any level in a way. They can write in their notebook the little bits and pieces about what they've learned. That's good. And then you're going to review the material the next class. So you're going to introduce this material. They're going to understand it, maybe take some notes. You're going to make sure they understand it. You're going to figure out a way for them to use it in conversation. And we'll talk about different strategies. And then you want, when they come back the next time, to go over all of this, because it's amazing what they'll forget. Not because they're incapable, but just they're working 6 days a week and they've got 2 jobs, and sometimes they'll say, yes, I'll take homework, and then they don't do it. And again, these are some really hardworking, bright people. It's just too much for them to juggle. Too many balls up in the air. That's fine. They come back and see you. You review it all with them, again, in the full sentence format. So let's just look here. Let's take our books and go to page 22. So this is just an example. So this is like the vocabulary section of the book, where there's not worksheets directly connected to vocabulary. Sometimes there are, but this is just vocabulary. So you can see there's 2 pages full of words to identify family members, and then they throw into pets and animals. But that's too much a little bit. That's too much for one class, actually. if you take just the first page, okay, of Pablo's family, Mary's family, and Sarah's family. Okay, so we'll teach the names, aunt, mother, cousin, all of that. You find a way to kind of get them to see how these English words correspond to the Spanish words so that they understand what a cousin is. They might have to use Google Translate, you might, whatever. That's going to be the introduction to the lesson. You're familiarizing them with all of the vocabulary. Then, rather than go on to the next page and add all this more vocabulary, which is just too much for right now, now we're going to we're not going to try, we're going to do it. We're going to have them, see, part of this is possession, too. So there's the vocab words, but then there's the concept of possessions, that something belongs to someone. So you could say, Pablo's family, the family apostrophe S belongs to Pablo. Now you're going to say, okay, a cousin, and try to get them to use it in a sentence like, my cousin's name is Jeanette. My son's name is, my father's name is. Again, the small sentences back and forth, and then say, tell me about your family. Who are these people in your family? And then just wait and let them try to express to you in a full sentence, identifying family members with a possession. So my cousin's name is, my son's name is, my daughter's name is. And then you can go back and kind of play a game and just say, my daughter's name is, so they can hear you talking. So you're instantly using this one page of vocabulary, it's like half of it almost, in sentences, small sentences. And it's the beginning of a book, so they're small. Maybe if your learner's a little more advanced, you could say, they could add something to the sentence. But it's, again, using my cousin's name is, let's just say they're more advanced. My cousin's name is Tanya. She lives in Colombia. Maybe, you on your own can figure out what a little extra they can add to the sentence if you sense that this is too elementary for them. So you're going to take that, they're going to say, my daughter's name is, my son's name is, and then you can have them write them out. That's it. They're, again, reusing the material again, but in full sentences, writing it out. That's a possibility if they have a notebook. And then at the end of the class, you can turn to them and see if they've kind of comprehended it, and you can say, do you have a sister? And if she says yes, and what is her name? My sister's name is. And again, you try to get them to use the words in sentences, but you have to kind of instigate it and generate the question or the prompt for them. So once you get in the rhythm of stopping yourself and saying, okay, my learners just learned something, but they haven't spoken to me yet. It hasn't been used yet. How can I get them to do that? And then figure out, if asking them questions is usually a good way. Are you doing something and modeling it and having them use the material in some capacity like that? And this, again, this is a very elemental, very basic one. And then the next class you get together, you could try this, and this will be, again, it's one of the first lessons in the book, so they might not be ready for it, but they could be if they're, kind of a moderately, what's this word? Beginner, what's the second word? Intermediate beginner. You could just say, who's in your family? What are their names? And then just wait. And then see if they remember. My cousin's name is, I have a cousin. That's another one. I have a cousin. His name is. And again, it's the same material. It's using it, but they're talking. They're figuring out how to describe something to you in a full sentence. So basic little tiny lesson, but you're drawing from it and you're getting them to wrestle with it.
Hey, Jeanne, can I just step
Sure.
in? I remember when we were talking, planning it out. For like very, very beginners, it's totally okay if you actually write down the sentence for them so they can like see it in context and they can just repeat it like the first few times, right? And then after a while, you can try and try to have them do it without seeing the written part of it. So even if you have to write out the sentence for them, so that they can continue practicing saying that whole entire sentence.
Yeah. I'm glad you reminded me, because that's another thing you could do on your whiteboard. If the goal is to get them to remember the family members, or how to string the sentence on the whiteboard, you can list son, daughter, mother, father, just all the vocabulary, and you can put a sentence. I have a blank, leave it blank. His or her name is blank, and then they have to read it and say, I have a sister, her name is Juanita. I have a father. So you're guiding them, but they're talking in a full sentence with that information. They're filling in the blank, and if it's at the second class, it's a review, and that's the ideal way. So again, the point is, a tiny little lesson like this can be stretched out using a whiteboard. That will help a lot with beginners, and a little bit of Google Translate, and then modeling it, and then stepping back, and then saying, okay, you do it now. And then you'll see as we go on, there's ways like if they can use a little more challenge of including the word don't, for example. No, I don't have a sister. Oh, do you have a brother? Yes, I have a brother. His name is Pablo. Do you have an uncle? No, I don't have an uncle. So we'll talk about that later, but it's an extension of this basic lesson, full sentences, and their communication. So, all right.
I
So
have
that,
a very basic question about don't. Like, do you start with contractions, or do you just know?
well, I think what I did was I explained what a contraction is, and there's a lesson in your book. And don't feel like you have to use the book sequentially, because things pop up, and go with it. Just follow your intuition. You see something, oh, she really needs to know that. Boom, get it. And look in the book and do it on the fly, whatever. But I found when I learned, I did the contractions, and she said, oh, okay. And then she didn't want to deal with the do not. She just wanted to go to the correct
It's also what they hear.
Yeah, it's what they hear. That's
don't.
right.
Yeah.
And it just felt easier. But there's an example I'll give you later. But they dropped the T. I don't want to. I know want to. And I said, whoa, wait. Say it again. I don't want to. Okay, I don't want to. And the tutor said, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And it's not even the real beginners who do that. It's a fast thing. He don't want to go. And I know he doesn't want to go. I don't know why, but that's a hard thing. So, but yeah, so just, and then put a red flag. I used to do this with my she would write sentences. She put periods in the middle of the sentences all the time. I don't know where that came from. But she'd write on the right when she put. I said, no periods. Oh, she'd laugh. And the next time, periods. So it's fun. It becomes a funny way to connect when you can laugh at her, and then you laugh at yourself. Of course, you have to do that too. You can't just laugh at her. So, but yeah, that I'm glad you brought that up, because I think you all know this intuitively. Just if something arises where you recognize that might be good to go with it, and keep track in your book so you can go and review it, because the reviewing is central. And then whatever you do, do it in the full sentence. So that's the golden rule all the time, and then turn around and get them to say it's the same thing. So but can you imagine how challenging it would be, though this seems somewhat simple, how challenging it would be for a new learner, for the tutor to turn and say, so, second class, tell me who's in your family. Mama, just that's hard. They have to pull up the sentences and the reviewing. So, again, you can get a lot out of a basic lesson. Go ahead.
So I found something very useful. I was at the library and I was going through the books and stuff. And all of a sudden, my learner's family language is Arabic.
Mm.
And so I found a pictorial Arabic English dictionary in the library. Just total serendipity. I just found it and picked it up. And I showed it to her, and she was very excited about that, because now she could actually see the image of what she was talking about, and in Arabic and in English at the same time.
Good for you.
And we did some lessons from the dictionary on random, and she really got she really got a lot out of it. So I just thought
That's
that'd
it. That's wonderful.
a
Did you
good
have to
kind of-
put the book back?
No, I borrowed it.
Oh, good,
And I
good.
gave it to her to sort of play with it.
Wow.
And that kind of thing.
Can you get her to speak in a full sentence?
Yes, in the beginning she was talking monosyllables,
Yeah.
but now I kind of insist on her
Good,
talking
good.
in full
That would.
sentences.
Yeah.
And,
Good.
and sort of continue on talking.
And you can get Google Translate Arabic too, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, but the
there's
pictures-
no image there.
That's right,
The
yeah.
image really helps.
Ah,
Because now I
yes,
can say
that's
this is
great.
mother and
Yeah.
Arabic.
Yeah.
And that's your mother, that's your brother.
Yeah.
So there's a connection of the
That's
visual
right,
connection
yeah.
between the image, the sound,
Yeah.
and the translation.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I mean, these things happen that land at our feet sometimes. That's what I need. Like, I remember going to, when I first became a tutor, getting her name.
Tanya?
No, another tutor who gave a workshop on pictures.
Oh, that might have been Jess.
Jessica. So she said, get pictures out of magazines and laminate them, so you can reuse them. And that was like, that's all she had to say. It was like all these things popped into my head. It was like, because you can plan a lesson, and sometimes they just go, you could feel it going. But other times, sometimes, for lots of different reasons, it's lagging, and oftentimes it's because you're talking too much and they're not talking enough. So that's one red flag. But sometimes you just need something in the grab bag.
Too bad there aren't magazines anymore.
Yeah, but Great Barrington Library has them on top of their, where the secondhand books are. So you can get them. But you just take out a couple of pictures that look like they have narratives, like perhaps behind them. And I went to Staples and I got those lamination sheets, and I laminated 5 or 6 of them. Some provocative, well, not sexually but provocative. And I just keep it with me. And if I feel like, okay, we got to get a little fire going here, I'll take one out and I'll say, "What do you see?" And then I just wait. And then they're like the ball's in their court. And then she's got there's one with this woman with this white long hair, and she's got this white horse, and then she's like, "What do you see?" And I just wait, and it eventually comes out. Well, horse, white horse, full sentences. And then, but it's just, that's like one of those things where, that was a gift to me. I felt that little workshop, because it was brilliant. You're generating conversation without making it so explicit, like, okay, we're going to talk right now. No, just, what do you see? And then just back off and wait, and then they have to fill in the blanks.
I have a question. So I actually did that exact lesson with my learner yesterday.
You did? Yeah, good.
Yeah, and it went fine.
Good.
And I only did the left page. And then she continued it, and she said, I have a cousin, my cousin has a cat.
Oh.
Which was fine, but this is my question. She says cousin.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't want her to be afraid to speak. Like, how much do I correct?
Okay.
It's only her third meeting.
Yep, perfect. That's a very important question.
If I
It
correct her
always
too
comes
much,
up.
is she afraid to speak?
Yes, if you do it too much, but you have to do it. So that's where your judgment has to come in. So cousin is not acceptable. So cousin, because she can do cousin. Some of the harder ones, like Thursday, that's an important one, where you have to actually say, okay, put your hand up here, and your tongue is between your teeth. Thursday, you should feel light air. It should be, because it's not hard. It's not like there. It's Thursday. It's softer. So that one we work on. Cousin, I would, but 2 a class is not bad. I mean, you don't want to make them self-conscious, but they need help. A little bit is important. It's important, because I remember we went to a book club conversation someplace, and this woman was so bright, and she was so articulate with English, but her accent was so strong. I'm struggling. I kept missing, and I thought, what a shame, because some things you can get away with, but some things you can't, and you need to be told how to pronounce it correctly. And so, gentle hand, but use it. That's what. And trust your intuition.
And I think sometimes what I stopped doing was, I do a lot of reading with people, and I stopped correcting them in the moment. I'll get to the bottom of the page and I'll say, okay, let's go back to the first paragraph. There's a couple words I want you to repronounce.
That's perfect.
Because they get discouraged, I think, if you keep stopping
that's
in
right.
the middle of the...
That's exactly right.
You know.
Another thing that I sometimes have my students do is to highlight the word that they don't know how to begin to translate, or they just don't recognize it.
Yeah.
And the student will say, I don't know what this word is, and then so they've highlighted it, and when they say it, someone knows it. And so I try as much as possible as for the students to help each other, as opposed to me.
How many students you have?
Well, I have a class on Wednesdays at Kripalu, so I have about 8, sometimes 10 students.
And they count each other. That's great. Yeah.
And the other thing that I wanted to mention is also, like, we've been doing simple present, and I make them get up once they learn the, like, I run.
Yeah.
So I make them physically get up, and I say, okay, choose anyone that you want to demonstrate. And then we had such a good time because they were getting up and they were role playing.
Yeah, role playing is very important.
And they had to guess what they were saying.
Yeah, good. So, that sticks. Yeah, we'll talk about that with another lesson. But role playing is always, if you can act out something, or just play a game where you're playing and you work it, like if you walk around the library together. Tell me what you. Tell me, or I'll say something like, forget about walking around the library, but just together joking, I'll say, I want you to tell me 5 things you like and 5 things you don't like, and then she says, I don't like spiders. Okay, good. I like McDonald's, this is what she always says. As we go back and forth, but it's just back and forth, and then I start to tell the things I like and I don't like, and she's always, really? Woo, you like, so we go back and forth. Anything you can act out a role play is another great way. It's a little harder right at the very beginning to do it, but it's
the thing about you talking about the pronunciation, English is a complex language. Because when you say like wind and wind and what does that mean and what context are you putting it, I think that's really hard for them to comprehend.
Yeah, and we laugh. We land up saying, I always say English is loco, and she says, yeah, because there's so many rules that it breaks. Like, just think about the word do. I do not want to. Then you put in the beginning, do you want to? And then I said, how do you do? How do you do? You do what? I mean, it's just the do thing. It's like going to the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland. You're like, what? Who's saying what to with do? And it's an auxiliary verb. And sometimes it helps with the verb, and sometimes it's on its own. And it's very hard to. There's nothing you can say. You're going to blame the Vikings. You can't. It's a through, rough, thought. Bow. I mean, all O-U-G-H. Laugh.
We had fun with psychiatrist the other day because of P is Savage. She kept asking me, why is the P not pronounced?
For what word?
Psychiatrist.
Oh, yeah. So what are you going to say? They didn't want you to use it. It doesn't make sense. But you have to laugh and just. But it's what we didn't learn. None of us, I'm sure, learned by going through lessons and explanations. We heard people talk and we mimicked. And you kind of want to do that a lot with your learner. The rules come later, but if you start teaching someone English with all these rules and you're showing the breakdown of the grammar verbs and all this, it's much harder because it's not organic. But you have to have some of that in it because they're adults. But it's not how we learn, that's for sure. Did you want to say something?
My answer when I go through all of that is it's English.
Yeah, it's English, yeah.
And English is it's a very difficult language to learn how to read. It makes no sense.
Right. That's right.
Let's not worry about it.
Right. That's what we have to do. Yeah, David.
Sorry, do you have you were showing how to pronounce the T. I'm trying to do like 4 or 5 sounds that are really hard, like 30 or 50. Or saying S, not saying S like sangria, say sangria, don't say S sangria.
Oh yeah, that's the S. Yeah.
Are there any, I don't know, the resources that can teach you how to, we practice it all the time, but I'm wondering if there's the breath, I say put your tongue, on one of your slowly turning people, bite your lip. Yeah. 50 like that.
That's what they're going to tell you when you find them. You're doing fine. Okay. Just be aware of what you're doing, and because like the Thursday, I know that's
That's hard.
It's a soft, but it's you feel the air. It's not the hard th like what was the other one? I said there. There has like a vibrating there, but Thursday is softer. So if you found there's some speech on the YouTube channel.
And Ellie actually has.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie actually has a pronunciation section where like there's a woman showing for every single sound. Open up your mouth, put your tongue at the top of your mouth, blow through the thing. That's sometimes helpful, you know. Sometimes not, but sometimes helpful. Sometimes like I don't understand.
What do you look on YouTube? What do you?
Oh, it's on Ellie.
It's on Ellie.
On that. Yeah.
I bet if you just Google that though.
You can find it.
Google mouth.
Yeah, you can find it for sure.
My brain also Google
Yes, it exists.
Google more than just the word mouth.
There's a great book, the pronunciation booklet.
Yeah, we have a booklet at the office.
We don't have it here, right?
Love that.
That doesn't really.
That one is really wonderful because you can, grab a paper and literally demonstrate for them, and they get a kick out of it. But it literally is very explicit also about touching your throat because they also feel the vibration. It's different. I'm always showing my teeth because the more you exaggerate.
Yes,
it's really exaggerating and of course you want to, as much as possible, use your body to explain something.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, that's for sure.
And use a mirror.
Yes.
Mirror, that's what I did too.
Or the people can use their phones with their cameras as well.
Yeah.
There's no mirrors available.
And they can videotape themselves because that if you have them, like if you use their phones, they can listen then to their voice. Do I sound close to what my teacher's saying? I'm saying it incorrectly. So they can self-correct.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of things. I realize the time is going by fast. So let's just go to the second one, lesson 5. And that's page 24. Now we're still in the kind of beginning phase. And now this is teaching possessive pronouns. So sometimes tutors get intimidated if they haven't been English teachers or haven't, been teaching grammar or anything to remember the names of tenses and all that. Be easy on yourself. It's not important. You can look it up anyway. But possessive pronouns, okay, we know what they are. You might not have known that they were called that, and then you say, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. So I'll use the terms, and you'll see them here. But don't feel like you're inadequate because you don't remember all the names of the...
This is a good review for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a good review. Yeah, it is. So this is teaching the possessive adjectives. My, your, his, her, its, our, and their. And you'll see them used here on page 24. Down below, 5.2, you'll see I corresponds with my, you corresponds with yours. So you can kind of explain that because they know the pronouns in their language and they know that there's a correlation. So this is a simple one. So possessive adjectives. Felix is my cat. Coco is your rabbit. Simple sentences, but it's a great to use the possessive pronouns. And then you can clarify this with them, what they actually mean, and maybe use Google Translate if you need to show them, to clarify what the pronouns stand for. And then you want them to now use them. So if you want to use them with family members, which is what you did in the lesson before, it would be Jose is my brother. Instead of saying I have a brother, his name is Jose, now Jose is my brother. Diego is my uncle. They're using them in sentences, and you can play with family member names. You can list them and say, you can make a list of them on there, family members, and then say, okay, tell me what each person is. So you would, on your whiteboard, write down a bunch of names and say, put that in a sentence, and they'd have to point. Stephanie is my mother. Diego is my cousin. So they're using them in like playing a game of matching. And that's kind of easy to do. You can do that on the fly. Just write all the names out. Tell me all the names of the people in your family, and you write them all down. Okay, and then you say, okay, bye-bye. Tell me who each person is. And they have to put that in a full sentence. So they're using the possessive pronouns in a full sentence. Kind of a simple thing. Then you can turn it around, and then say, who is Miguel? And then they have to say, oh, Miguel is my, so it's a review, repetition again, but it's using it again. So it's a simple sentence, a simple part of your lesson here, but it's being used over and over and over again, and they're using the possessive, and they have to, of course, be aware that that's what the focus is, the possessive pronoun. I wanted to tell you, on this page, see the bottom line, it says these pieces of the lesson. I don't know how that got there, but that chunk goes at the end here. So I put these pieces of lessons 5.7 and 5.8. That goes at the end. I don't know. I just realized that when reviewing this one year. So if you want to circle it and just make a star or something, but it goes on the next page. So it's where it says these pieces of the lesson 5.7, 5.8. All of that goes at the end of that lesson. Sorry about that. I just couldn't bring myself to make 20 more copies. So they were all stapled. Okay, so that's kind of a bit. I can't find it. Oh, okay, so on example lesson 05, down here it says these pieces of the lesson.
Oh, here.
Oh, 105. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to circle that, just it goes there. Yeah. So so you're going to, make a game out of it and say who is Miguel, who is Louisa, and they have to answer back. And then you can, again, you're going to judge if you have a lot of time left over and you've been playing this game enough, you could add to it and go to 5.7 or 5.8 on the next page, and they start to use now this and that. Or if you don't need to add it, then the next class do that because they dovetail together. This is my dog. So my is being used. This is her horse. Again, it's possessive pronouns, but you're also learning this and that. So it's a nice way of joining two lessons where there's review because you're going with the possessive pronouns, but you're adding this and that. So
if I can just when we were planning this, we we were talking about how when we talk about review, I've heard from some tutors that the lessons get boring because you keep going back to the same stuff. And when Jeanne and I were putting this together, we were talking about that a good way to continue practicing the same vocabulary is adding these new aspects of grammar like this and my, and then keep practicing that same vocabulary that you've been working on so that it doesn't seem as boring, I guess, when you're adding a new element to it.
And this particular one with this and that is the perfect opportunity to get off your chairs and start walking with your learner and say, oh, what is that? And then just wait. And then she has to say, that is a whatever. And then, oh, what is this? Just wait. And then she has to, and then she can say, okay, now you do it to me. And then, but you're forcing them to identify something, but not just with vocabulary, with the full sentence. And then you can walk around and that can be kind of funny. And then we can also say, if you can get to whose phone is that? That is your phone. Okay. Whose phone is this? Oh, that is my phone, and so they can use the possessive pronouns that way. But you as the generator of the question, that's where you have to kind of think quickly. That's where you're going to say something, back off, and then let them wrestle with it. Because sometimes it's just a little question that gets them to talk a lot.
So if you say, whose water bottle is that?
Yeah.
The answer would be, that is her water bottle. Let's say the water bottle is closer to me, may I?
No,
so if I say, whose bottle is this, the answer has to be this.
That's right. So that's on this lesson. Okay, so if you look at the top, on page 26.
That's clarifying.
These little blocks are helpful. Under key language on the top of 26, this and that are called determiners, it says, and it explains that this is for something close, that is for something far, and you explain that to them. So that's exactly right.
Right, so you want to make sure that they echo the same determinator.
That's right, in the answer. And our next lesson is going to talk exactly about that, listening to what you're asked and then using that in the answer. But yeah, so it's again, and getting up and walking around can be really good.
So how far away it has to be to what this?
5 feet. Yeah, you say 3 feet, and she says, feet? What feet? Why my feet? And then you go, oh yeah, all right, feet.
I guess one is like, I was not taught grammar. Is like,
yeah.
I don't know if anybody was, but my generation was not.
Yeah, I know.
So like, she asked me the other day, like, why this? I don't know. So I'm also finding like there is also a difference between like what is grammatically correct and how we speak.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, do you have an what did I say to her the other day? I was like, it's just the way people talk. But do you have an easier way of kind of explaining that to somebody of just like, you're right, that isn't grammatically correct,
right,
but this is how you're going to hear it,
right.
You know?
That's okay, just like that.
Just something like that.
Yeah,
okay.
You know, when I became head of the English department, I was older than the people in my department, and that was my thing. I said, we're going to teach grammar. We're going to grammar, because I was comfortable with it because I learned it. But the younger teachers were like, whoa, wait a minute. And I said, we're going to start right from the beginning. That grammar lessons, worksheets, I don't care. And you don't have to diagram sentences. Like I don't even know what that is. But diagram sentences, we got to that. But you've got to teach grammar. And it's not taught. It's not taught. It's hard.
Yeah. I've learned more about grammar.
Well, you'll learn. But see, just like this little thing, this and that.
Yeah.
You know intuitively almost, but they're saying this is close, that's there. So that's good enough.
Okay.
Just be easy on yourself, because otherwise you're going to just feel like it to me. She doesn't know.
Okay.
They don't know.
Okay, and you just tell them.
Yeah,
you know,
and just learn.
You say because.
That's another one.
No, I thank you for bringing that up, because I'm older than you, and I was supposed to learn all that stuff. And I moved a bunch of times when I was a kid, and I have no idea. I don't know what sentences meant.
Yeah, but you know
I just know how to
just
talk.
You can. I know this might not be your idea of fun, but you can start teaching yourself like from the beginning. And go, oh, and it can be fun. Like, okay, what are the 8 parts of speech? Oh, I never thought of that. And then you're like noun, verb, subject, noun, verb, adjective, adverb. You start to learn. You go, oh, and then all of a sudden you're starting to learn something new in your golden years.
Just what you wanted to learn.
Yeah,
that's right. Perfect.
Yeah, I know. I mean, then again, talk about a rabbit hole of the exceptions and okay, you say adverbs have ly. They modify verbs. Yeah, but how about go slow? That's grammatically correct, but there's no slowly. You can say slowly, but you can say go slow. And there's all these exceptions, so it gets nutty also with the grammar. But just teach yourself little things and it's fine. And you learn just actually by the lesson yourself beforehand. So, okay, so then this thing at the end I say, these pieces 5.7 or 5.8 will likely take up the whole class, but you have extra time. You can then do some of the worksheets if you want. If you think it's going to be fun to have her fill them out and review, that's fine. It's just that if that's the essence of your class, that's where the problem is. But certainly they can, have, because sometimes it's a break, and they like the fact that they're doing it right, and it feels good. Okay, the last thing, so the last thing I'm going to look at is page 66. Let's go to 66. And now we're getting a little more complex, but again, we're just trying to show you how to break up a lesson into components and getting as much as you can out of it before you go on to the next section. So, I have 1, 2, 3. You know what? We're going to do 66, and then I'll explain something to you. So this is, someone had mentioned listening to what's part of the question, like this and that, and using it. So this is an example of it. These are answering questions. So if someone asks a question with the verb to be, okay, so some of you might say, what the heck's the verb to be? It's am, is, are, was, were, be, been, okay? It's existence, right? So if someone uses that to ask a question, Are you hungry? I tell my learner, listen to the question, then use that in your answer. Yes, I am hungry. Of course, they have to know the verb to be first, but at this point, you probably are teaching it. So then, when they ask a question with the word do, you use that in the answer. Do you want to walk home? No, I don't want to walk home. Yeah, so that's what they have, and that's kind of a fun game you can play with them. So you're explaining, are you a doctor? And you would say, yes, I am. Are you a doctor, aren't you? Yeah. So, yes, I am. And
Yes,
if they asked me, I'd say, no, I am not. Okay, so we go back and forth. So then you can play a game, and I say, turn to her, and I'll say, are you hungry, or are you tired? And she always says, yes, I am. And I said, don't just say, yes, I am. Or you can say, yes, I am, or you can say, yes, I am tired. They learn that. But don't just say yes or no. It's got to be the full sentence. So then I say, you asked me a question. And then she said, oh, do you like ice cream? Yes, I like ice cream. So I can answer, yes, I do, or yes, I. So they're learning to listen to what's in the question and using that in their answer. So this is more advanced, but it's become kind of fun because this is easy to play with. You ask me a question, I ask you a question. Okay, and then how are you going to answer it? So this lesson, they're learning, and they can answer in the short way, but then eventually they can answer in a longer way by adding the component that you used in the question. Do you like ice cream? Yes, I like ice cream, or yes, I do. Either one, you're listening to do. And then, again, here's the thing where I say, pay special attention to the words not and don't, because they struggle with remembering that T sound. And it makes a difference, too. I say to one of my learners, I say, it's funny, but that's almost like a signal that if you can say, no, I don't, yes, I do, it means you're up here. Yeah, because so many of them just don't. I know, I don't like it. And they know that. So that's another way of incorporating that idea into this lesson. And then, let's see. So then, this is, again, playing a game. You can use this to play a game so that you ask them a question, then say, now you ask me a question. And they have to use the do or the verb to be in asking. So you're playing back and forth. And this can almost be a whole class back and forth. There's a lot there and a lot of material. So if you were to use your book, you'd see page 66. It explains it. It shows you. And then there are some little true or false. This is if they listen. There's a listening component to this book. You can go to the EnglishForEveryone.com. It tells you in the beginning.
It's like
there's an app. DKFE, it's in the beginning. That's right.
There's an app.
Yeah, it's in the beginning.
Right, the app is great.
Yeah, it is.
Play it.
Yes, I play it all the time. Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's right on the first page, right here, free audio. It's called
It's called English for Everyone. Yeah,
DKEFE.com. And then you go to what lesson, you click on that, and then they play it, and you can stop it.
What's the next step? I can't get it to go further from there.
Say that again?
So, a question. I don't know Spanish. In French, you say, I have hunger.
Yeah, j'ai faim, yeah.
Same in Spanish. We say, I am hungry. So it's a to be as opposed to I have.
I know.
What would you say in Spanish?
It's the same thing, to have.
To have.
Yeah, I have hunger, I know.
And the answer to that question is? Because.
So if you look here.
Because they had to do something different. Yeah.
Just to mess it up.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. I think you get the idea now. I hope you do the idea of stopping at don't go through that lesson. Stop, break up a component, and see, am I getting my learner to talk using this material? So what I'd like you to do is, this side of the table, I would like you to get a little homework here. Classwork, I should say. This side of the table, please go to lesson 44, and you can work together, a couple, you can do it singly, or if you need paper, I have some here, jot down bullet points. What would you do with vocab, so page 44, if you go back, it's just vocabulary.
Page or section?
Page. Page 44, vocabulary 12. It's daily routines.
Wait, page 44
Page
or lesson
44.
Page 44. Okay, that makes more
Page
sense.
44. Yep, sure. Daily routines. And what would you do? Let's just take the left side, just that page, not 44 and 45, just 45. What would you do with that lesson to get your learner to be conversing with those words? How would you approach it? What was the first thing you do, then the second thing, the third thing? And then this table on the side here, I'd like you to go to 74 and 76. Only those 2 pages. Okay, so 74 is the vocab. Oops. Yeah, 74 is the vocab, and then you skip 75, and then talking about your town. How do you get some conversation? Just think about it. Does anybody want paper? Bullet points, maybe?
You're all right.
Am I not in it?
You're not
Okay,
in it.
that's what I'm doing. I'm the whole thing.
Just basically what you would do.
My first person fire chicken.
You know they did. I worked with someone like twice and she just couldn't. It was that. They just said, no.
We just, no, she was so over my head. She was so over my head. She spoke very, and she wanted to learn everything.
Part of our
that stuff is like, so I'm having so I got a new fellow just last Monday. And he's really sweet. I want to adopt him.
So they able to go to the supermarket and buy, or something else.
Like you said, I can read it. I can see the
So it's using
and I know that read the words but he can't decipher it either. Right. So it's good because I really get where he's coming from.
I guess, when I do my classes, I tend to have discussions, but I'm not as specific as this. Like, I ask her every day, and then they kind of, and I think to float off of that. So, in books like as you're reading a story. So, I think it's maybe example because with that
But so I have 2 who worked together 2 years ago, and now we're not. I'll take on another person that was maybe but I've been through this before where literally I'm so proud of them because they're really actually talking to us. But I remember sitting with them and saying, okay,
you can read them like you read her for dinner.
okay, tell me about that.
So what would you guys do with this?
And we just would go through
I know what I would do, but it doesn't mean I'm doing it correctly.
This is where I'm not very clever when it comes to asking. You say that, but I
trust me. Because I also do Spanish surface with near, right? So I can say, okay, what is near the police station? And then it gives him a chance to look and say, oh, the supermarket is near the police station.
And I also, I found a map of a particular town, street, and he was reading the bus, where it, which is the bus stop. They can use, yes, okay, there you go.
Yeah, like that. This is with the audio. I actually wrote this all down. I didn't realize I really got it.
Right, we have 10,
just them following and not changing up. So I can see here, he listened to the audio and he was able to number the pictures, but now it would have been better for me to say, just forget about the video. Tell me, what is in the picture? I see a supermarket. I see a
In my case, and then that position, the place, the supermarket is next to what is it yesterday.
So they know enough that your learner knows English that they can comprehend it. Okay. See, I don't think my guy does. Yeah, see, my guy does.
Maybe from both been here, she was hesitated, and then she was, and they didn't know each other's names. They found out at our first meeting that they had to take a picture.
So you put them together.
Oh, yes.
And that's what I had done. But he really, I mean, he could say hi to me. And yell a lot. But that's very personal because I find that they could read each other's strengths. Hi, my name is Joe. He can pronounce Joe. Went through that. And he got this. That's kind of that's what I want to do.
Yeah, and so yes,
which is funny. No one knows. And it's funny at first.
And then I obviously last couple years I lived in Mexico, time and classes, ESL classes, set up programs in elementary school. Typical, like to do things. And we have developed lessons for beginners using PowerPoint because I like the idea that they're looking at bobbing their heads up and down, going from the and a lot of that is because I was teaching. We started having classes. Students would go to our memory and and they were heterogeneous classes. So that's my so yeah, and so it is, and they and I would probably take I can but I can take a picture of it.
I did not know that. Because I usually say that.
Really?
Because I don't know. I'm just trying to do it.
Two volunteers, anybody from the 44? Tell me what you did. Give us some ideas. Okay, students.
That dog. Not my dog.
Anybody want to volunteer how they would break down or how they would approach page 44 and to get conversation going with this lesson? Volunteer? Yeah, sure. What's your name?
She volunteered me.
What's your name? Because I see you all the time.
Mayra.
What is that?
Mayra. M-A-Y-R-A.
Okay.
So one of the one of the simple things that I would do is just to take literally these graphic or these pictures, and I would have them put them underneath what time of the day they would actually do these things.
That's a great idea.
That's one thing that you can be looking at.
They would say it, and they'd be talking.
They would say it eventually, but it's more of the picture. Like, when do you do this activity? And you have the pictures down below, which I would probably minimize the amount of that you have, the options, because there's too many options. On the bottom, what do you do in the early morning, and then literally that they can move those pictures underneath this picture of the morning. The other thing is also timeline. Like, okay, in the morning, Well, what do you do? The first thing that you do when you get up in the morning. So now you're creating a timeline with them.
And just to stop you for a second, how would you get them to say it?
Oh, and then, well, it depends.
The same idea you have, but
yeah,
say it.
you can have, you can have, depending on your student, you can either have a sentence that you just, you have, there's only one answer obviously for it, so you want to make sure that it's a closed kind of sentence. Or if the student has already, has a sense of what to say, you would have, like, let's say, I take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I take, or I get up, or so they're going to need to have some vocabulary. And what I tend to do, not only do I say it, but I write it, and I also have them write it. So for me, that's and then I would just say, I would give one example, and I would, like point to that picture, like wake up. I wake up at 8 in the morning.
Exactly.
And then the next person may say, oh, because they have to take their child to school,
Yeah.
so they say, I wake up at 7.
That's
So each person would give an opportunity. I always try to set the example with myself.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's great. But that's the gold standard right there.
I also just wanted to say that even if you wanted to break it down even to like a lower common denominator, like you could say, first you teach the vocabulary, then you teach the verbs, and then you so it's like that you already have like 3 or 4 lessons, right?
Absolutely. That's right. Yeah. Yes.
Well, Amy, I would start with the book closed, and I would say, because I said, what's your name? Dawn and Tanya. I said, so we meet at like 11:30 in the morning. So I would start with the book closed and say, whatever vocabulary. She would struggle with the vocabulary. She's a very early beginner. But what did you do today?
Yeah.
And then I could say, whatever she says, I could say, but before that, earlier, to start. And so I would start with conversation, then I would go to the book and do the vocabulary, and then continue, like what you said, and then use the vocabulary in sentences.
Right.
So that would be my way of doing it.
Good. Yeah, I think that's great. And then you're right, introduce time. Okay, in the morning, I wake up at 7 o'clock. I have lunch I eat lunch at 12 o'clock. This is all different, but it's the same timeline.
If they can identify like a schedule, which is another way of, or looking at the calendar.
And then here's something, there's another thing right in, like brush your hair. Well, do you brush your hair? Yes, I brush my hair. I brush my hair, because it's your and my, so there's the possessive again right there. But, again, it's learning to adapt it that way. But that's
and the before and after, like, I take a shower before I have my breakfast. So you can also be
first I do this, then I do this. I can use the word then. But again, always throw it back on them to get them to say in full sentences the things using this stuff. So you can see there's 12 activities here on this one page. If you go through all of them, they can pronounce them all, but it's just too much to focus on, so it's really too much to put in one lesson. So if they have to learn get up. Wait a minute, get means to get up. Okay, so there we go. So I get up at, we say, that's what we say, I get up at 7 o'clock, at 7 in the morning.
What if they say? What if they say wake up, or they want to use wake up?
Yeah, that's fine too. That's perfect.
That's more
Absolutely.
specific
Yes.
than get up. You can get up from a chair.
Right.
It's not necessarily you're waking up.
That's right. And you can wake up and still stay in bed.
Or sleep here.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's good. How about on this side? How did you wrestle with this page 74? Let's go to 74 and 76 so the others can see it. So what I thought here was, again, too much vocabulary for one lesson. So if you just focus on 74, it's around the town, so they're learning in my town. That's, these are things that they could see in their town. And then if we skip 75 and we go to 76, then they have to talk about their town. In my town there is a school, or the school in my town is called. But okay, does anybody on this side want to just give me an idea of what you had? Sure.
Well, since we meet at the Stockbridge Library, I thought, well, we could, when it's daylight savings time, we could take a walk.
Yeah.
And we could actually, and she could have the sentences in her head before that time, I think, and she could point out, this is the post office, this is the library, this is the store.
Good.
That's how probably I would approach it.
That's a great, it's always good when you can walk in.
That's, I mean.
Depends where you are.
That's a perfect situation.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It's not brilliantly educational.
No, but you're adapting it to what you're doing.
And I think I would take it a step farther also, and I think I would ask her to talk about, if she could, this is probably not going to happen that soon, but the post office or the store in her town, she happens to also in Stockbridge, but where she's from, maybe do something like that. Color of the building. Because we've been talking colors of things, sizes of things.
And if it's used in the full sentence context, or if you want to use those possessive pronouns again, my town has a hospital, it is called BMC or whatever. I mean, that's a lot of language.
I think it would just.
Good. Anybody else have any thoughts of how they would incorporate the lesson or expand the lesson?
I think the one thing I would make sure first is that she actually understood the vocabulary.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're just saying, okay, it's school. What does school mean?
Yes.
Who doesn't know the language? So I think it should be very clear what that means.
Always, always,
Before you go any further.
Yes.
Make sure you know that that's what they're clear about.
Right.
And not just parroting the words.
Sorry, you mean what kind of school, or do you
No,
mean just that you know
like for
school?
example, somebody who's from another country may not know what a museum is. What is a museum?
Or a synagogue. I mean, there's some words
We've never heard of a museum. What is that?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think it's good to know what their conception of museum.
So that's a good point that you bring up, and one of the things is depending on the level of your learner, that you always want to think about how can I break down the lesson, So the lesson can just be teaching the vocabulary, having them look it up and write it down, translating it, That's the first part of the lesson, and then the second part of the lesson is learning that or this, and then like moving slowly through what is it going to take for them to eventually be able to say that full sentence. So if your learner's a complete beginner, that's the way it's going to have to be. You're just going to have to break it down to the lowest common denominator every single time. And then you're like, okay, let's walk around and we can practice these sentences. And then to continuously add new elements in order to practice the same vocabulary and not think that you have to move to the next set of words too quickly, Yeah. And like the review is going to help you sort of measure whether they're actually internalizing that vocabulary or not, So it's given your learners the ability to be able to do that, to create that sentence.
Right. And you can model it, they copy you and whatever, but you see them do it, and then the next time you get back together, you have to go into your notes and look and say, oh, okay, and make sure you go over that, because the review is so essential. You don't want to, do it exactly the same way, and you don't want to spend your whole class reviewing, but just that refreshing your memory, their memory is really important. And one of the things I was going to say is, sometimes, when we evaluate our classes, and one way to always, one of the things I always do is say to myself, did I talk too much? Mm-hmm. And that's it. And if you did, you might say, well, she didn't understand. It doesn't matter. You didn't listen to that. You didn't fall back on the gold standard, which is back off, throw something out there and let them wrestle with it. Help them along. But if you're talking a lot, don't give yourself an out and say, well, I really needed to, because no, you should have shut up. You should have had them get inspired to wrestle with it, because that's always the thing you want to go back to. And it's so easy for us to talk a lot. And it's so easy for us to go through the book and the lessons. But it's not the thing that's going to make you feel as a tutor, she's moving along. But you'll see after 5 or 6 months when you start to say, how was your weekend? And she starts talking, and you go to say something, and you're like, wow, that's what I was looking for. She's telling me to shut up, so she can say in English. That's good, that's a good thing. So I want to do one more quick thing, and just because it's such an easy one to work with, but let's just go to the very last thing on this page. It's the vocabulary for food and drink on page 110. This, I think, now you'll see how all the different ideas that can pop up with this. So let's just say you go through all of the foods. You articulate, you pronounce, you do that first, and you make sure she understands. I mean, the pictures are there, so that's pretty clear. But sometimes, like yogurt might not be evident. I don't know what it is in Spanish, but you see something white.
It's
yogurt.
It's a cognate.
It's a cognate.
For Spanish students, cognates are very useful because
so for those of you,
there's a lot of words that are similar.
Yeah, cognates are words that are almost the same in English and Spanish or whatever language.
And even in French, you'll find.
Yes,
that's right. Portuguese.
That's right. Sandwich. Yeah. So you go through all of these words, and that's fun to go. And then you can do all kinds of things with food. Let's go to the supermarket. What are you going to buy? And then she has to, I will buy, I need some. You can just start introducing need. I want to get, whatever. Or you could say, what recipe do you want to make? What do you need? And then tell me, but again, always with the full sentences. And she might not be able to do that. You model it and then make sure she uses that phrase. I need to buy some sugar. I need to buy some meat. I need to, even if it's repetitive, that's perfectly, repetition, by the way, is a great learning tool. So I need to buy some meat. I need to buy some bread. I need to buy some butter. Okay, what else do you need? Any dessert? I need to buy some cookies. I need to buy, just keep repeating it. Okay, and then she's going to cook in the recipe. How do you make arepas? Oh, and then she starts thinking, okay, and then she might add some things like melt the butter, get the corn, whatever, masa, whatever. So with food, that's a great way to, you can talk to her about buying things, and you can talk about when she makes something, I need some, the word need is important. And then you can talk about cooking, making dinner, what are you going to make for dinner tonight? What ingredients do you need? And then she can look here, and if she has to read them, that's fine. But it's almost like a gift to have something like this when you do the food vocabulary, because people love to talk about food. Even if they hate cooking, they like to buy the food and eat it. So you can get them to use these this vocabulary in different ways. You can put on your whiteboard again, that's oftentimes a good generator for conversation. You can list on the whiteboard certain words like buy, need, I want. They call those, or I have to, something like that, and mix them with the food. I need to buy, and then list the food. Back and forth. So you're assisting them by using the whiteboard and giving them that structure. That's okay to do, but then you back off and then they have to use it. So don't feel like you just have to throw it out there and say, okay, tell me what's going on. You can assist them and you can guide them, but then you have to start talking, and then they use it together. And you'll see once you start doing it, you'll get to the point where that's how you're going to want to teach all the time, because you're lighting a fire under them. And it's little habits you create, and then it's just that's just an approach. And then again, reviewing foods. That's easy to do. So I just want to make sure I have 10 minutes to go. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Yeah, this is a great class. You guys are great.
I think your food issue is a good one, because my student is from Morocco,
Yeah.
And so I told her to get me a Moroccan recipe.
Tagine.
Tagine, and to explain it to me how
yeah,
she would cook it.
really good.
But Reverend Dodd doesn't want to talk about cooking too much because she works at the kitchen to follow. She said, I'm so tired all the time.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that you could do with this would be to, if you taught the alphabet, is to have them put it under the letter that it starts with as well. You know, when you're just like, in other words, you know, if you have a word that starts with an A or a B or whatever, because that's another way for them to, when you categorize things, it helps you also to memorize. I make my students also kind of close their eyes and do things up in the air.
You know, I was going to say, at these more advanced students, because one of the things
I have the whole gamut in my...
Because I have been told, and I think that's true, that reading and writing, back off from it in the beginning. It's the talking. Because the reading and writing, again, it's not conversational. But when they get to that level we're talking about, then maybe they're going to want to do that. But like my learners, and this is what made me come to that conclusion, aside from someone telling me that, is that my learner could read beautifully. She was reading. I said, oh, what does that mean? She had no idea. She can read, but she doesn't understand it, and she can't speak it. So I thought, okay, wait a minute. Again, we go back to our childhood. We didn't learn to write and read. We learned to speak, and we learned to listen. Speak and listen, speak and listen, speak. So that's kind of what I go to. But that would be great for someone who kind of gone over that.
And lastly, I wanted to share also that I make these lists, like a chart where it's the vocabulary word. Like if we're going to start a story or something, and I know that there's certain words that they're not going to know necessarily, so we go over those words. And I have them list the word, and then they need to write the meaning, and they have to look it up. And also, I have a little column where they can either draw a picture of it or write what the word means in their language, so that they have their own little dictionary that's going on as they're learning the new vocabulary.
That's great if they can keep a dictionary and just keep track. Yeah, my learner at first was really motivated. Actually, before I had her, she had a long list of things she kept keeping track of, and now she's too busy. But she, that's just so great when they do that.
You should try a picture dictionary like I did for my students.
Yeah, that's
it. And really kind of the light went down.
Absolutely.
We have the Oxford Picture Dictionary.
Yeah. Do you have
English,
that?
Spanish, and then
the Oxford Picture Dictionary.
But it's not. But it's not Arabic.
Yeah. I'm just curious. The book, I find I'm jumping around a lot because I'm just sort of curious. There must have been some logic in the progression or not.
I don't know. Trust your intuition.
Yeah. Let's go with whatever you think. Yeah, that's fine.
I can't figure it out.
No, yeah.
What's that?
The tutor manual.
Oh yes, everybody has the tutor guide. Everybody has a tutor guide. Definitely a good tool.
That's been very helpful.
Yes.
There's only 2 words that are contractions in Spanish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really? Yeah, which ones are those?
I've been through this one too, but yeah, there's 2, and I looked them up actually. But contractions are foreign to people.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And there's a lot of it in the book.
Yeah. And that little apostrophe, they.
The Americans will
But,
lose it.
anyway, thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to thank Jeanne for putting the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And take advantage of the Norman Rockwell Museum.
Yes.
Go there with your learner. It's gonna be awesome. And let me know if anybody wants to use Ellie. Check out the workshop that David and Mark did. And thank you everybody for coming. Hope to see you soon.
And my email's at the bottom. You can contact me anytime. Call me. I don't care. They get feedback.